All right.
Oh, you know what it was showing up under? It was showing up under a different group, Sean.
Okay. Oh, I see. Here we go.
Are the candidates going to be online or just DTC members?
Candidates will be amongst us in the Zoom.
They will. Okay, good.
Yeah, you're live,
Right.
Sean. I see
All right,
it.
good. So we're going to start now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. And I want to start off by saying that, unlike the mayoral candidate forum where we had 3 candidates, so it was very easy to send out, a survey to figure out when everyone was available. We couldn't do that for this one. It was just too many candidates. And so there are some candidates that were not able to make it today. And we are going to figure out something else so you could hear from them as well. But, I had conversations with some of them today, and I just want to make it clear that if they were not able to make it tonight, that was through no fault of their own. It's just that scheduling so many people all at once is not an easy task to do. And I think everyone that took the time to fill out that very lengthy questionnaire obviously is committed to this process and seeking the DTC endorsement. And so please don't hold that against anyone. And there may be some that might join us as the meeting goes on. I spoke with Dan Smolnick, who was not able to be here. Marucci George, actually she's not feeling well. And Melissa Kaplan teaches a class tonight. So if she really wanted to join us, but maybe she'll end up letting her students out early and join us at the end. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. How this is going to work tonight for all of the candidates that are here. Thank you for being here. And you'll see in the chat, I put a suggested question. It's really a kickoff kind of question. We're going to give each of you a few minutes to talk. We're not going to interrupt you. Say whatever you want. Art will let you know when it's time to wrap it up at the 5-minute mark. Don't feel like you have to use all 5 minutes, but we just wanted to give you plenty of space to talk and address everyone. I think we're all on the same team here, and so this should be a friendly process where we get to know each other. And I hope no one sees this whole process as sort of a zero-sum game, right? So there's a lot of candidates that wanted to participate in this, and I think that is really, really great. And it shows the vibrancy of what we're doing in town here. And but the downside is some folks will ask to who have asked to be considered for a position won't ultimately be chosen. It's not necessarily a reflection on them at all. It's just that there's only so many positions to go around. Now, there are plenty of other roles in town to get involved, and there's so many ways to get involved. And so I hope everyone stays active regardless of how things go. After this forum, we are going to send out a survey to get a general sense. So the survey will be open for about a week. And this is to get a general sense of where this is a private survey for DTC members to get a general sense of where support is for candidates. There's only one vote that actually happens, that is at the convention in July. And I expect there to be some movement in candidates. I've had a number of conversations. There are people that didn't initially put their names in for a variety of reasons, and they may choose to seek our endorsement at a later date. And we'll figure out a process for that, for them to get to see, get to meet everybody then too. For candidates, by the way, this is just one avenue for you to talk to DTC members, particularly for those that don't know a lot of DTC members. And I think that is really great that there are some people that chose to put in questionnaires that do not necessarily know a lot of us. That's really great, right? That's what we wanted to see happen. And I hope you know that you can also reach out directly to DTC members, talk to them, send them an email, whatever, and to get to know them as well. So this is just one process that we have here. So you'll see the questions I put down below, and we're going to start off with town clerk. We have two candidates here for that tonight, and we're doing each one by alphabetical order. So we're going to start with town clerk, then legislative council at large. And by the way, just so there's no confusion, there's because I know there was a little bit of confusion with this, there is the district process for the 9 district candidates, and that's a separate process that each district will figure out. We may try to, if we're still obviously doing the Zoom thing, and so we may do some kind of breakout room thing where districts can meet and talk to candidates. Really, it's whatever districts want to do to figure out the process there. But these are candidates who are running for the 4 positions that the DTC nominates for at-large council. And then we have the Board of Education, and currently there are 4 seats that are up for election this year at this moment. And that could change, but that's where it is right now, that there are 4 positions open for this year. All right, so starting with town clerk, Gary Beard, I saw you here. Oh, there you are. How you doing?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. So first, so I'll just read the question to you, but again, feel free to answer however you see fit to make it your case here. The town clerk.
Just to ask you a question, because I know you were saying before that you were going to put the questions into the chat. So
yeah, can you see that in the chat?
No.
So I'm wondering if when we put it in the chat, if Art or Alexa, someone can you copy and paste and put it back in? I think what happened, I put it in before everyone got in here, and I think unfortunately that limited to the people that were in the room at the time.
Yeah, I'll do that.
I got it.
All right. So there it is. So you could just refer to that, but I will also just read it to you. It's not really too complicated anyway.
So Gary, you'll have 5 minutes. At the end of your 5 minutes, I'll just say time. And then if you could just wrap it up. And if you're already finished before 5 minutes, that's great too. But
Sure.
All right, great. The town clerk is responsible for important record keeping and licensing, and is also one of our elected officials. To carry out these responsibilities, the town clerk oversees staff and must interact with the public and other government agencies on a daily basis. How will you approach this multifaceted position? Also, please just give a brief introduction as well. Thank you.
Sure. So my name is Gary Beard Jr. and I live 67 Woodlawn. So I live in the Spring Glen area of Hamden. I've been a Hamden resident for about 5 years. Born and raised in New Haven, and met my wife in New Haven as well. I would say we did a little stint in New Jersey, and I have 3 wonderful little girls that do keep me busy on an everyday basis. So with me, when it comes down to me being active within the town, for example, I am currently chair of the Technology Commission for the town. I've been active with that particular commission for the last 3 to 4 years. So technology is kind of like my forte. I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy just listening to people that is way smarter than me. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to my role as chair of the Tech Commission, is to really bring tech, utilize tech more within the town. So when it comes down to answering the question, utilizing the town clerk, going into that particular position, yes, it's a big step. You know, yes, you do have your daily tasks, but when it comes down to really looking at the position, you have to wear multiple hats. And when it comes down to multiple hats, yes, one hat is keeping important records up to date. How are those records being stored right now? How are the citizens currently utilizing that particular office? Does the people of the town really know what the town clerk really does? So when it comes down to utilizing that particular position and going for it, my main goal is to really promote, educate not just myself, but educate the town on, you know, how important that town clerk position is. And my approach would be, you know, first, you know, within the first 90 days, you know, really introduce myself to the different leaders and different positions and departments within the town. And after that, my next thing is that I want to actually talk to the people who currently work within the office. Because when it comes down to learning anything, if you've been in a position for more than 2 or 3 years, I'm a true believer you're a master at that position. So when it comes down to creating a subject matter expert, a SME, I feel that having that transparency where everyone is on the same page, I'm always for that, and that's one of the things that, you know, I want to go for. Now, with approaching, you know, besides doing that, another thing is continuing learning. With me going into this position, I do have to say, am I a master at it? Do I know everything about it? No. There's definitely be a learning curve, but I'm a true believer in just trying something new, learning something new, and mastering it. So is it going to take me time to understand the actual position? Yes. Do I know everything? No. But I'm also not afraid to say no. I'm also not afraid to say, you know what, that's a good question. Let me find out for you. And I'm not afraid to use the people that I work with. So when it comes down to me overseeing the staff, I have vast knowledge of vendor management. I have vast knowledge when it comes down to working in a call center for 10 plus years. And even in my current position, when it comes down to vendor management, that's something that I do on an everyday basis. I'm not going to say because I'm a father of 3 strong little girls and a strong wife, but it is something where I feel that by, you know, utilizing what I have, my past experience, I feel that I'll be a good fit for the position. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Gary. And now, I'm not muted, am I? No, good. And now we'll hear from Karima.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. I'm here to express my interest in running for Hamden Town Clerk. I think it's really crazy because my internet's looking a little weird right now. It's popping unstable. So if I go off, just I'll be back on. So I'm a transient from New Jersey. So hello, you said you had a stint in New Jersey. I've been in Hamden for about 17 years. I currently serve as the treasurer for the Hamden DTC. And so when I think of the town hall and the town clerk's office, it's such an important role that the teams play. They play, you know, an enormous amount. The role that they play is an enormous amount of engagement with our community. They serve as the liaison between local and state government. So whether it's the preservation and safekeeping of all the official records, which is like the celebration of birth and marriage and the acknowledgement of loss with death certificates, providing guidance and assistance to our residents, attorneys, title searchers, local businesses and state agencies, administering oaths of office to leaders who are committing to do work for our community, managing the absentee ballot process and general and special election duties, and accurately capturing the activities occurring in our legislative council, board, and commission meetings, and keeping Hamden informed. It's all important work. And I'm here this evening because I believe I will add value to this position. My background includes extensive experience in leadership roles. I've successfully implemented numerous programs, projects, and initiatives for corporate and nonprofit organizations. The projects and programs have delivered cost savings, cost avoidance, revenue growth, and efficiencies. I've delivered digital platforms and redesigned billing platforms. And implementation, all of it required creating and executing stakeholder communication plans, leading cross-functional teams, including technology, marketing, strategy, and navigating innovation and government compliance. So throughout my career, I have been valued for fostering a culture of collaboration and consistently driving results and delivering value. So if endorsed and elected as your town clerk, I'm going to leverage those skills so that I can identify process improvement and quality assurance opportunities, and my exposure to cutting edge technology to ensure the town clerk's office is running efficiently. How do we simplify and make it easier for community members to do business with us? I will innovate, be compliant, accessible, flexible, transparent, and I will do the work with integrity. So the vision I have is to create a space where all community members see themselves in us. For everything that we do today, how do we do it better, and how will we be inclusive?
All right, thank you very much, Karima. And now we're going to move on to Legislative Council at Large. And first up, Dominique Baez. So Dominique, I'll since you're the first one up, I will go ahead and read the question I put in there in the chat for that position. The Legislative Council is the fiscal authority of our town. It is often said that a budget is a moral document. How will your life experiences and perspective inform how you approach this position?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dominique Baez, and I'm your current councilwoman at large. Thank you to the DTC for putting this on, and all the folks who are out there watching tonight and participating. I'm very happy to be in front of you guys tonight and be able to give you a bit of what I've been up to and what I want to do in the future. So this is me running for my second term. And I am a lifelong resident of Hamden. I grew up on Whitney Avenue as a little kid. I got some echo. As a little kid, I lived on Whitney Avenue, and then my parents and I moved over to the Paradise neighborhood onto Hill Street, where they still live. And my husband and I bought a home in Southern Hamden in 2014, where we live with our little 10-month-old daughter and our very big dog. So I've been around Hamden for a while now. I've been very interested in municipal government my entire life. Since I've been 12 years old, I've been volunteering with municipal government. And that's when I figured out that legislation was something that was a very big deal and affected residents and people of a town every single day and all the things that they do, and could make far-reaching change. It's why I went to school. It's why I got into government. It's why I worked for a nonprofit. So my last campaign, I ran on a few things, and one of them being bringing jobs to Hamden. So doing that and understanding equity and how to bring equity to Hamden. Since being on the LC, I've been a part of the school building committee, and there I've been able to ensure that we monitor and make sure that we follow CHRO compliance for minority and women-owned business enterprises, as well as minority and women participation in construction. I'm also very proud to say that we have a $5 million project coming to Hamden, where I have ensured that we have 10% of our construction workforce hours going to Hamden residents. That's dollars to Hamden residents directly in their pocket, as well as 10% of the construction service dollars going to Hamden-owned businesses. So I'm very proud to say that we've written those requirements into our contract for that $5 million construction project, and that's example going forward, not to mention the 17% minority workforce hours and 6.9% female workforce hours. And if you've sat in on a legislative council meeting, that's something that I say a lot or harp on a lot, because I understand that construction is a way to bring economic development to Hamden residents, and to people of color and women in our town, and really close that wage gap. That's something I do in my daily life. I also want to say that being on the council, I've combed through the budget, right? So last budget deliberations was my first, and looking through every single budget line, trying to find out where we can find savings and how we can figure out not just where to find savings, but how to make our town more equitable and inclusive. And that includes making sure I voted for a full Board of Ed budget. Because when the Board of Ed comes to us and tells us that they have equity, programming, inclusion, and they're understanding how to welcome their school system for all of our students of all colors and backgrounds, I think it's important to make sure they have the funding to make sure that happens for our people. Going forward into the future, I don't want to just be a voice for Black and brown people during budget season, but throughout the entire year. That means making sure that we all as a town have access to healthy eating. That means that we have a farmer's market access across the town down to Southern Hamden, so we all have access to fruits and vegetables. I also want to beautify our corridors and make sure that our businesses opening up our town and going into our town, we have beautiful landscape, and people want to come into Hamden, not just with their businesses, but with their money, with their kids, with their family, buy homes. And one of the parts of economic development is making our town attractive, very literally. So those are some of the things that I want to go forward. Not only that, but changing the way that we've communicated. You can hear the baby in the background. But this past year, in my first term, we've been in a pandemic, and I haven't been able to connect with our residents in a very human way. It's been Zooms and emails and phone calls. So I'm looking forward to being face-to-face with my neighbors and residents, so that you guys can tell me directly, not just via our email account, what you guys are looking for in our town and how we can help get that done. And I know I've been talking for a long time, but I just want to close it saying that, this year has been a year of change and challenge and difficulty for everyone, right? It's not just me. Being a new mother, being a new councilwoman, navigating a pandemic has been very difficult. And there's no but there. There's no like, but it's really nice. No, it's not. It's been really difficult. And I'm ready for that challenge. That my last year, this time, I was delivering our very first baby during our very first budget deliberations. And the very first call I made was to Justin Farmer, my colleague on the council, to see if we've opened up the discussion for the police department. I'm dedicated to this position. I don't want to say as much as motherhood, but the budget book and this town are all my baby, as well as this 10-month-old. Right. Thank you. Sorry if I talked for too long. Sorry.
Oh, perfect. Thank you very much. And I'll say, though, I think we're going to have to check the rules, but having a cute baby in the background may be an unfair advantage. Got to do what you got to do. And so next up, Katie Kiley.
Hi, I'm Katie Kiley, as Sean just introduced. I am a Ridge Hill teacher. I think first that's one of the main things. I am actually really excited to be able to say that I live in the same district with which I teach, to really be able to get to know the community. I am also the chair of the 5th District DTC, and which I just did last year. And I think, so one of the things that I think I'm bringing to the table, and one of the main reasons that I wanted to explore my interest in running for the at-large position on the council, is over the past, which is kind of crazy, now coming up on my 11th year as a Hamden resident and homeowner, is that moving to Hamden first, and was also when I got my first job with the town, but also I was able to do it with the Teacher Next Door program. And so I was able to buy my house after having my first, full year as a teacher. And I think those opportunities and being able to link being services and programs that help people not only come into Hamden, but also be invested. And I think there's a lot of things out there that Hamden offers to families and young entrepreneurs that we have to keep opening up the doors and making sure that when those grants are available, that we advocate for them to come in. And we also let people know that they exist. So since moving to Hamden and becoming a teacher, I have spent, I am also in the union, the teachers union, and I'm very proud of that. But one of the things I've gone to over the past 8 years, almost every Board of Ed meeting, and spent about 2 years going consistently to legislative council meetings, because I quickly realized that in order to really understand what's going on, you have to not only go to the main meeting, but then there are committee meetings to really get a full picture. And then I realized that even attending those meetings, it was still really difficult to understand how the process works and to be effective and figure out how to be engaged. I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be part of the solutions and bring it, but finding access and being able to do that was really difficult. And so my main goal or passion is to be able to make it so that it's easier for people who live in Hamden. I think, a lot of times we talk about how there's apathy or, a lack of wanting to get involved, but I think most people do. We just have to make sure that there's the access, and also make sure that it's not just homeowners who have access, but everyone who's in Hamden and has a stake, because we're not separate. Whether you are living in Hamden because you have kids, whether you're working in Hamden, whether you are a college student who is here getting your education, all of those things are opportunities to bring resources back into Hamden. But right now it's very separate. And so we're oftentimes talking about Southern Hamden versus Northern Hamden. We're talking about college students versus homeowners and residents and senior citizens. But when you look at it, a lot of us have really similar needs and interests. They're not opposing and they don't have to work against each other. But one of the things that needs to change, in my view, after having sitting through the Legislative Council meetings, is there has to be a way, not just for public comment. Right now, public comment is very much used for venting and for people to say what's wrong. But it really needs to be a back and forth and a dialogue. And so in my experience, and I'm very lucky to have a council member in my 5th district who is very responsive. But what ends up happening is we're able to talk to our individual representatives, or you can have conversations with legislative council members. But when you go to approach the council at a meeting or want to be able to affect change and you need them to work together, oftentimes there's no ability for residents to communicate across, or for constituents who have needs to get responses from the Legislative Council in a public way, so that everybody knows what's going on and we can affect real change. And so what I would like to do on the council really is work on ways to make sure that we're empowering residents who come to every meeting, who want to speak, not just only to share their concerns, but also to really work on and look at different ways that we seat residents on committees, and ways that we can actually foster discussions as opposed to it just being a one-way communication. Because I think when we do that, not only will Hamden be stronger, but I think that's how we're going to find networking. We're going to find ways to have Quinnipiac be able to work with the Park and Recreation Department, which can then also work with the Board of Ed when we have things like needs for summer programs, or even when there's February break, things that kids can do to help them still be social and active, especially now. I think. Oh, sorry, is that my time?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. I will just end there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Katie. And candidates, don't feel the need that you don't have to cut your, you don't have to stop mid-sentence. Once Art tells you the time is up, finish your thought. That's fine. But thank you. All right, next up is Abdul Osmano.
All right, good evening, y'all. My name is Abdul Osmanu. I'm 19 years old, and I'm currently the corresponding secretary of the Hamden Democratic Town Committee. And I'm pleased to be here with you guys this evening as I tell you why, what interests me in running for council. A big part of what interests me in running for council, and a big part of what I feel I bring to the table is a far vast array of experience. Whether it's from my, rather recent experience as a Hamden High graduate, going through the Hamden public school systems practically all of my whole entire life, getting into local politics at the age of 14, which, kind of inspired me to find my voice. And as a high school student, advocating for, some of the change that we see going on right now, being advocated for at the Board of Ed level, to, being a leader and organizer on a whole array of campaigns that I've been able to serve on, within this region, within this town. I think that I bring a diverse array of experience that I can bring to the table. And when we talk about, the idea of our budgets being moral documents, it serves as a lot to me. It's a quote that we often associate with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And, in context to Hamden as a town that's, declared racism a public health crisis, as our moral imperative to, make sure that things like this are reflected in our budget. To make sure it's reflected in our budget, whether we're, making sure that we're spending the federal money that we're getting from the COVID economic relief bill on things, help our community, help our children, and, grow our businesses in Hamden, and especially focus on growing our businesses in a way that, promotes equity and growth, and puts the needs of those that are mostly affected first. Those are things that are, closest and dearest to my heart, not only as a Hamden resident, but a Southern Hamden resident that gets to see, some of our more hardest hit, neglected areas within our town. And another part of what I really see as experience that really brings me to council is, a bit of organizing experience on a whole array of issues that I've been able to take part of, whether it's teaming up with former colleagues and students on making sure that our town is, putting the needs of our students first, working with great friends of mine on issues such as period poverty and police brutality, and a whole diverse array of things. I think that I have a, on the ground experience, which I feel is really important as we head into these times in our town where it's going to take community and coalition building to, dig ourselves out of, some of the predicaments that we find ourselves in as a town. We have a very good opportunity in these coming years, these next 2 years actually, to kind of right some of the, wrongs that we've, kind of had for, perhaps even longer than I've actually been alive. And I think that starts with our budget, which is a moral document, and it starts with honesty with me as well, and making sure that we're projecting honest revenues, and making sure that we're not putting, it on the backs of our hardest hit residents the most. And thank you so much, and I can't wait to have more conversations with the DTC along the campaign trail, and have the opportunity to talk about the issues that affect us most and issues that we care about.
All right, thank you very much, Abdul. And next up is Lori Sweet.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Lori Sweet. I've lived in Connecticut for 9 years. I ran for council in 2019 as an endorsed candidate of the Working Families Party. And while I didn't win, future candidates now have ballot access. And the issues we raise, such as police accountability, continue to remain important in Hamden. My background is as a birth doula. I've run my own business. I've worked with families across the state to help them advocate for themselves before, during, and after birth. And I will bring this same approach to the council. Residents of our town deserve representatives who will listen and advocate for them. The budget is a moral document. As a council person, I would take the job of spending the town's money with respect. While my small business didn't spend on the level of the town, I understand that we can't spend more than we bring in. We absolutely need a long-term plan. We need independent financial experts to advise and instruct the LC, and we need to be responsible with the money we are tasked to spend. Our budget must represent our values. So I'm running again for the same reasons I did in 2019, because we still need accountability, transparency, diversity, and accessibility at every level of our government. I am trained to be available to pick up the phone, to find resources, and to find answers. I am tireless, or as my parents have called me, relentless, and I'm ready to apply myself to serve all of Hamden. So I'm here tonight to ask you for the endorsement of the Hamden DTC for the position of Legislative Council at Large, and I thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Lori. And now we are going to move on to the Board of Ed. And let me just see, I know that there are a number of candidates that weren't able to come tonight from the Board of Ed. So I want to do it in order. And Karen Kendrick will be up first. Karen, I'll just read the question that I put in the chat for the Board of Ed candidates. Serving on the Board of Education is a 4-year commitment to be a part of a team of fellow board members. Overseeing a school district is complicated and requires many skill sets and perspectives. What knowledge, skills, experience, and perspective will you bring to this role?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm Karen Kendrick. I guess you've already said that. So I'm really excited about the idea of running for school board. I think, like other people have been talking about, right, this last year with COVID has been a wake up time for a lot of us. And so I teach sociology at Albertus Magnus College and live just over the border in Hamden. So I get to walk to work every day. And, you know, the great thing about teaching at Albertus is that it's a school that draws primarily from the local population. So I have a number of students who've gone to school in Hamden, New Haven, and the local area. And I always say that, you know, I went to graduate school to learn sociology, but it was my students at Albertus that taught me how to really be a sociologist, because they, you know, when you go to graduate school and you study sociology, it's kind of a surreal experience because you're laser focused on social inequality, race, class, and gender inequality, and everything that you study, right? How does society work? Where is everybody positioned? But really, you're just surrounded by people of relative privilege, right? Especially class privilege, so that even if you have diversity in race and ethnicity, and where I went to graduate school in particular was a pretty elite school, so there was, you know, really a sort of not a lot, especially of economic diversity, right? When I was, and so here you are studying inequality in a place where you're kind of still, you know, protected from it. And so, you know, I've taught at a number of different schools and ended up at Albertus. Really, it was at Albertus that I learned from my students what it meant to go to school and not be a privileged student, right? To be economically discriminated against, to have teachers that told you you were not competent or not capable, to have guidance counselors that told you, well, maybe college wasn't the best option. And yet here, you know, in my classroom, I had students that were telling me these stories of how they were treated in school. And yet they were engaged and brilliant and studying and succeeding. And so I've always, this experience has sort of led me to not only just be a better sociologist in general and a better human being, and told me how ignorant I was about so many things. But it also sort of got me thinking about how we need more more connection, right? Sort of all the way through the school system. So I really think that my sociological insight by studying and teaching sociology is really the core of my strengths for in terms of the skills, knowledges, and experiences I have for the school board. I can, you know, I can identify when I don't have the information I need, and I can go out and get it. I have lots of experience in curriculum development and academic committees, in, you know, working with people who are have multiple, might be being pulled in multiple directions, but have to, you know, produce a single product. And also, you know, my teaching experience itself, not just curriculum development, but just one-on-one working with people. I know that I also had to transform my own teaching along the way to be more inclusive, to reflect on the kinds of assumptions I was making about, you know, how much knowledge that people have, and how much, like, whether words mean the same thing in different contexts, right? So I've had to really sort of think about what whether I was making assumptions about whiteness in the classroom, or about whether my pedagogy my pedagogy was working for everyone, or working better for some students than others. And I'm excited to work on applying this to you know, public school as well. And I know that Hamden is a school district that struggles with equal educational outcomes. I know that we have problems with differential levels of suspension and expulsion and discipline. I know that there's inequalities in tracking and our leveling of students. So I think those are really important issues to tackle. And I'm excited about the idea of being able to put some of the stuff I teach, you know, into action, to do something, as opposed to just talking about it. And I think that the pandemic has really made me, although, you know, it's ironic, right? Because I've been locked in for a year. So it's made me even more excited about the idea of actually getting out of the small world I live in, thinking more about what I can do for the town. I love Hamden. I've been here for about 5 years now, but I'm teaching at Alberta's for longer. And I think we all have a responsibility to be in and to support the place that we live. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you so much. And our next candidate is Naija Ife Waters.
So my name is Nishisha Ife Waters. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to express my interest in the board, Hamden Board of Education. As I look at the question that that is asked, first I have to say the key to actually, or what I'm going to bring to the table is, one, I have a lifetime of experience of serving, commitment, and being a team. And that is starting with me as a parent with my children, right? But I think the very important thing about Board of Education altogether is the purpose. And the purpose of the Board of Education is being able to, you know, work with the communities, which includes the teachers, the parents, the students. At the same time, making sure that we are in compliance with state laws and federal laws. I am going to outright say that, as I understand that there's an issue or there's a breakdown when it comes down to equal education, I am a strong advocate for special education. These are the students that is always left. These are the students that we wind up having issues in the long run, where we see the schools to prison pipelines. I'm looking to actually bring to the table my passion. One of the things that I have learned throughout my years, especially as an advocate, a special education advocate, being a parent liaison in the school district, being a parent leader, also being a community leader, is when you put children first, you will always win. When you look at the whole purpose of why we're coming together, making sure that the budget is there, making sure that the curriculum is, up to par, updated, and that it's a balance. When you put all of the component, it covers making sure that children are first at all times. And I think being a parent, being invested in children, and that it sort of, let's say, it outshines and outweighs everything else. Then it's not about me. It's not about us. It's about the kids. What do we want to see for our future? And I think that's what we need to look at: what didn't work, what did work, and what needs to work. Far as my knowledge and skills, I have a psychology background. I also have, like I said, being that parent leader, volunteer. I've been volunteering over years inside the New Haven Public Schools. Even though I live in Hamden, I just love families. It's all about the families. It's all about, making sure that our stakeholders are important and at the forefront. And our stakeholders, I want to push for a citywide or town-wide parent team, so that we can hear from the parents. We can be very transparent with the parents. I want to work on better communication with parents. I want to make sure that we work on communicating with students, hearing what their needs. I mean, every student. I am coming to the table unapologetic. I'm coming to the table pushing with passion. I'm pushing that we have, because if we can get our policies in order, if we can make sure that everything is updated according to what the state and federal says, I think we will really have an awesome public school system where parents don't have to go outside the district to get a better education or go outside the district looking for equal education, that they can actually stay inside and making sure that, their kids, why not be able to go to school where you live, My experience, as I said, I've been a parent liaison, which is, being that bridge between the parents and the, teachers, making sure there's communication, even with students,
Anthony, you need to finish. So.
Okay. And also making sure that we bring into our system restorative practices, making sure that that goes across the board with everyone.
All right, thank you very much. All right, and our next candidate up is Melissa Kaplan. Hopefully she didn't let her students out early to join us tonight. But Melissa, since you weren't here at the beginning, I will read the question that we put in the chat for Board of Education candidates. But as we said earlier, you'll have around 5 minutes, and Art will let you know when that's over. And but please finish your thoughts at the end of that if you're not quite done yet. And this question is really just a jumping off place. Feel free to say whatever you want. So the question is, serving on the Board of Education is a 4-year commitment to be a part of a team of fellow board members. Overseeing a school district is complicated and requires many skill sets and perspectives. What knowledge, skills, experience, and perspective will you bring to this role? All yours, Melissa.
Oh, thank you. So my name is Melissa Kaplan, and I am a current member of the Hamden Board of Education and would be honored to be reelected should I prove myself worthy of the Democratic Town Committee's endorsed candidate. I currently serve as the chair of the Curriculum Committee, and I'm a member of the Equity Committee. I want to reintroduce myself to you in hopes that I can earn your confidence in my ability to best serve the Hamden Public Schools and to work with you in various capacities. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak to you. I grew up in Connecticut and was thrilled to move back here while completing my doctoral work at Tufts University when I took the position of English Department and Women and Gender Studies program at Quinnipiac University, and where I currently hold the position of interim director of the QU Honors Program. My husband and I purchased a house in Hamden in 2005, and it's here that we have decided to raise our son and daughter. My daughter Eliza goes to the middle school, and my son still goes to Ridge Hill. Upon my children entering Ridge Hill School, I became active in the PTA. I served as the secretary for 3 years. And in 2016, I graduated from the Hamden Parent C supporting education excellence and was selected to give the class commencement speech at the Connecticut State Capitol building. Even before serving on the Board of Ed, I attended various Hamden Board of Education meetings to express support for faculty improvements at Ridge Hill School, and to also to communicate my concern about the need to develop an EpiPen administration policy procedure in compliance with the CDC and the American Pediatric Association. I also, as someone with a background in gender studies, I presented to the Board of Ed Policy Committee and provide feedback regarding terminology and training programs related to a new policy to ensure a safe and anti-discriminatory policy for transgender and non-binary students. Because of my commitment to education as both a parent and educator, I have endeavored to become an advocate for our children's education, equitable access to valuable learning opportunities, and to policies and practices that will safeguard high levels of achievement for all Hamden students. During my time on the Board of Ed, I have focused on advocating and creating positive change for students with special needs, like my son David, who has been diagnosed with ADHD and also anxiety. I have also promoted a culturally inclusive and sensitive curriculum, anti-racist pedagogy, LGBTQ affirmation and safe spaces in our school, and gender equity policies. I continue to spearhead initiatives such as LGBTQ inclusion and affirmation. I've also worked on revising the dress code policy to make it gender equitable and not simply gender neutral, and also free from slut-shaming language and actions. And I have fought to have health classes include explicit discussions about consent in their curriculum. I've also developed initiatives to support parity and close the enrichment gap also in our elementary schools that do not have PTA funds to support those opportunities. Moreover, I have successfully advocated to maintain the Family Resource Center at Title I schools to serve and support under-resourced families, providing access to early childhood care, and parents as teacher training programs have proven to be most effective way to closing the economic and racial achievement gap. Other initiatives that I will continue to dedicate myself are meeting individual needs of special education students, hiring teachers, staff, administration of color that more accurately represents and reflects our community, and developing policies and non-discriminatory that are towards gender, race, class, ability, religion, and sexuality across student populations. My advocacy for greater equity and inclusion does not ignore the fact that I am a white, Jewish, cisgendered woman in a white supremacist society where I have a responsibility to recognize and work to dismantle white privilege. I want to reaffirm as a member of the Hamden Board of Education that I am committed to compassion, equity, and inclusivity and social justice. And my hope that my 3+ years on the Board of Education is proof of my dedication. But more importantly, I will continue to stand with victims of racism and hate crimes of any kind, and with people fighting oppression. To stand silent is to be complicit. Silence is a powerful way to calcify the very structures that perpetuate violence, fear, and hate. As an individual and as a current and hopefully future member of the Board of Ed, I have a lot of listening to do, a lot of learning to do, and also a lot of work to do. I promise to keep demanding change, and I will also maintain my commitment to an education that is culturally responsive and anti-racist, and reaffirm my commitment to the practice of freedom and liberation. With your support, I would like to continue working to sustain our public school system as a member of the Hamden Board of Education. I'm eager to get to know you and learn more about your own ideas and how to strengthen our dynamic schools. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, thank you very much. I was glad you could join us. So I think that is it. I didn't miss any other candidates there, right? I want to make sure before we draw this to a close. And I want to just recap what I said at the beginning, that because of the way, you know, with so many candidates, the way we had this meeting, we didn't clear schedules with all the candidates. And so I knew going into this that not everyone was going to be able to participate tonight. And so we will find a way for other candidates that want to communicate in a similar fashion to the DTC, have an opportunity to do so. We're trying to figure out the best way to do that, but we will do that. And so this is one part of a conversation with members. I thought I'll echo what Vanessa said in the chat, that, you know, I think candidates did a really great job tonight. And I thank all of you for participating in this first process, right? We've never done this before as the DTC. Oftentimes in the past, I think, as we've experienced, and it's not unique to Hamden, I think this is all over, where the process is a little bit murky and here it's out in the open, and candidates have an opportunity to talk to DTC and vice versa. And I'm glad, you know, wasn't sure what this was going to look like when we started down this road. And I really like how it's going. So thank you for everyone for participating. We'll be posting this video on our YouTube channel for the DTC. And so for those who weren't able to watch tonight, they will have an opportunity to watch in the future. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean.